Currently, I'm probably sitting at 40 plus mirrors earned. Obviously, 27 mirrors right here, like another mirror right here. Then my character itself is probably at this point like 12 mirrors ish. It's maybe 13. Obviously, like the Lethal Pride is very expensive. Mirror Cluster Jewel, all that, right? So yeah, that's where I'm currently sitting at. Yeah, let's also talk about Quant Diminishing Returns, item rarity, and all that. So there's a lot of misinformation out there about item rarity itself and Quant. So, and also monster Quant, map Quant, all that. So I figured I'll talk about all that in this video. All right. So how does Quant work? So the basis of how Quant works is that map Quant is multiplicative with player Quant, which is multiplicative with monster Quant. And now, as far as we know, also with the Wisp, specifically the yellow Wisps, that's also another multiplier. So it's 4 multipliers on top of each other. So yeah. Now, the only one that has diminishing returns, as far as we know, is player Quant. And so what is the diminishing returns of player Quant? So there's a sheet right here. This is from the Discord prohibited library. And this is the data we currently have on player Quant. So at 90% Quant, which is currently where I sit, I have a 53% more items dropped. Where Quant applies, right? Because obviously Quant doesn't apply from like everything. For example, daily rewards, when they end, your Quant is not affected at all by those drops. We have stuff like conversions, like unique drops, currency drops, Quant does apply. Conversions is a big one. So yeah, at 90% Quant, you get 53% more items, and you go from 90 to 100. You only get 3% more items, or 2.25% more from the last 10% gained. So yeah, 3% more items. This is why, Quant has very harsh mirror returns. As you can see, it's very, very minor to higher and higher you go up. And, you can't really get this high unless you're in standard. But if you're in currently, you could maybe get to like 120% with certain builds. Like Wanderers can use 8% Quant Shield, Quant Headhunter, and all that, right? Or using Bisco's Quant Corruption is 10% more Quant, for example. So yeah. Realistically, as a solo player, you're probably sitting at anywhere from like 90% Quant to 100% Quant. Usually pushing anything past that's not really worth it. One, because of diminishing returns, and two, you're probably sacrificing way too much player power to reach that much Quant. Also, you have stuff like a Quant, Avengers Gamble, which is free essentially. So yeah, with that in mind, when building your character, you usually want to reach like this, I would say a good number is like 70 to 80% Quant. And if you get any more, that's great. But, I see at 70% Quant, it's pretty good returns. You're getting 45% more items at 70% Quant. It's quite massive. And then from 90%, you only get 8% more items from that. So yeah, being something small, just as in like 40% Quant, you're already getting 29% more items. So yeah, so like any Quant is very valuable. And yeah, so yeah, that's the Quant diminishing returns. And like I said, Quant affects everything. It affects loot conversions. It affects currencies. It affects, unique drops, right? Because you drop more items, therefore you'll drop more uniques. So it's a big reason why Quant is king. But now, next thing I also want to talk about is Rarity. So Rarity probably has the most misinformation in the game. So as far as I've known, and I've confirmed this with other people and like data mine, all that. The only thing Rarity does in this game is essentially dropping more tier 1s and tier 0s, and that's it. So it does not affect loot conversions. It doesn't affect currency drops, as far as we know. None of that. So having more rarity, the only thing it does, it gives you essentially more mage bloods and more headhunters, which is is nice, but it's not that valuable, right? Like obviously for me, I dropped like 10 total mage blood / headhunters in this league, which is at this point like what, less than 10% of my total currency earned, less than like 5% of my currency earned or something. Yeah, 5% of my currency earned. So it's not even like that important, right? It is nice, of course, but yeah. Obviously, of course, it's different at the start of the league. Start of the league rarity is extremely valuable because even the most basic of items can be worth multiple divines, right? Stuff like Aegis Aura can be worth like 5 divs, like week 1, and all that. Heat Cherry can worth like 40 plus chaos. So yeah, this lane league though, all uniques are worthless outside of Mage Blood and Headhunter, so it's a lot less valuable. Also, Rarity has diminishing returns just like Quant. Now, unfortunately, we don't know Rarity diminishing returns. We only have like very old data, and no one has really tested it since then. But as far as we know, Rarity after like let's say 400% is quite mediocre, quite bad, I would say, because once again, it's only affecting your unique drop rates, and you know, to get past like 500%, let's say, you gotta give a lot of player power. Stuff like item rarity, maybe stuff like, you know, give this multi for more item rarity, you know, stuff like that. It's just not really worth it. It's never, as a solo player, it's simply never worth to use item rarity support unless your damage is somehow so overkill, which could happen in previous leagues, but not this one. So yeah, item rarity has very harsh damage returns as well. You know, from my personal testing, anything past like 4% item rarity is not really noticeable at all. Like I would say like 400% rarity to 5% rarity, you know, from my testing at least, it can't be more than like, you know, 5 to like 8% more like tier ones, let's say. It was very not noticeable from my testing at least. Of course, if you're in a group play, keep in mind you always want to go for max quant and max rarity, because if you're a group playing, you know, you can sacrifice as much player power as you want because your aura bot will give you like all the damage you ever need. So yeah, but as a solo player, you really don't want to focus on rarity too much. You know, get it where you can get it for free. For example, like Rarity Hunter, this is free. Obviously, Quant is more ideal, but you know, Quant Hunters are either don't exist or they're like, you know, stupidly expensive. You know, stuff like you know, Rarity on Ventures, right? You're already going to use Ventures because it's Quant, so you can also just use a you'll get high rarity on your Ventures as well, because you know it comes with rarity, so you might as well get it. Helmet, you know, helmet's another place where you get free rarity because there's not really any good stats to get a helmet anyway. The most you can get here is like spell suppression or maybe like more evasion or something. That's really it, right? It's not like helmet's a very good damage slot or like defense slot. So yeah, the rarity is good when you can get it for free with like very little opportunity cost. You know, Greed's Embrace, another good one. I also use Greed's for then Quant, and then of course you get the rarity for free. So yeah, but you shouldn't be sacrificing stuff like links for rarity. In my opinion, you should never be using like Caspiro Jewel. Caspiro Jewel is somewhere around like negative 30 to 40% DPS compared to a Lethal Pride, because you also lose all your decks, which means you have to use more passive points on like dexterity nodes and all that. This is why I never use Caspiro Jewel and why I never recommend it. You just lose so much player power for a stat that is close to meaningless, essentially, this lane of league. Early on, it could be very, very strong, like I said, because a lot of uniques are worth it. Now that one thing to touch on, we're not too sure how Rarity interacts with Wildwood. So with all that said, maybe Rarity could be good if it somehow affects, let's say, the currency from Blue Juice. But we don't know, right? It's all speculation. Someone will have to do like a really big test, like, you know, negative 100% rarity character versus like 80% rarity character, like Wildwood Blue Juice. Maybe we'll get like some, you know, concise data. You know, my speculation is that Rarity won't affect the amount of like currency drops from like Blue Juice monsters, but you know, that's just my speculation. Because it doesn't apply like that anywhere else in the game, at the very least. So yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it for like Rarity and Quant values. You know, Quant is king, always will be king. Rarity is just for tier 0 uniques, does not affect loot explosions, and this in the league, it is pretty worth it, but also it is nice to see Hunter make split every once in a while. And of course, you know, Rarity is worth it if you can get it for free. You know, like I said, stuff like Venters, stuff like, you know, Corruption Implicits, you know, Greed, Helmet, it's all pretty free. Also Flask too, right? Flask slots are pretty valuable, but it doesn't hurt too much to use a gold flask. So yeah, that's really for the video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them comment below. I also stream daily on Twitch. But yeah, that's it.